It started with the whispers. Not real whispers, not sounds you could hear with your ears, but a faint insidious murmuring in the back of your mind. A presence, like static clinging to the edges of your thoughts. It was the summer after high school, that strange liminal space between childhood and whatever came next. We were bored, restless, and obsessed with the internet, with the dark corners where the real and the unreal blurred together. That's where we found him, Slender Man. My name is Mark, and back then my friends, Ethan, the skeptic, Lisa, the thrill seeker, and Chloe, the quiet observer who always seemed to know more than she let on, and I were inseparable. We spent our days exploring the woods behind our town, our nights huddled around a computer screen, devouring creepypastas and urban legends. Slender Man was our favorite. He was the ultimate boogeyman, a faceless terror that lurked in the periphery, a creature of pure nightmare fuel. We devoured every story, every image, every grainy video. We debated his origins, his motives, his powers. Was he an ancient entity, a government experiment gone wrong, or just a figment of collective imagination? We didn't know, but the mystery was intoxicating. Then Ethan found the website. It was a simple, almost amateurish page, filled with cryptic messages and disturbing images. It spoke of 7 pages, scattered throughout the woods, each containing a piece of a ritual to summon the Slender Man. It was obviously fake, a bit of fan-made lore, but it was compelling. We decided, fueled by a mixture of boredom and morbid curiosity, to play along. We'd find the pages, document our search, maybe even make our own found footage film. It would be a fun, shesh chutir din, last holiday project before we all went our separate ways for college. We didn't know then that the game was already playing us. We didn't know some doors, once opened, can never be closed. The woods behind our town were vast and ancient, a sprawling expanse of towering pines and tangled undergrowth. Locals whispered stories about those woods, tales of strange disappearances and unexplained phenomena. We'd always dismissed them as old wives' tales, but now, armed with the cryptic clues from the website, they took on a new, unsettling significance. The first page, according to the website, was hidden near the Weeping Willow by the Crooked Creek. It took us days of searching, but we finally found it. A lone, gnarled willow tree leaning precariously over a muddy creek that snaked through the heart of the woods. Tucked beneath its roots, hidden inside a hollowed-out knot, was a small, water-damaged notebook. The page inside was yellowed and brittle, covered in a spidery scrawl that was barely legible. It depicted a crudely drawn stick figure, tall and unnaturally thin, with long, distorted limbs. Beneath it, a single sentence was written in what looked like dried blood. "He sees you when you're alone." A chill ran down my spine. It was just a drawing, just words on a page, but it felt wrong, too real. Ethan, ever the skeptic, scoffed, "Come on, guys, it's just some edgy teenager's idea of a prank." But even he couldn't completely hide the flicker of unease in his eyes. Lisa, usually the most adventurous of us, was unusually quiet, her gaze fixed on the drawing. Chloe, her brow furrowed in concentration, was meticulously photographing the page, the symbol, the surrounding area. We decided to follow the instructions on the website, to treat it like a game, a scavenger hunt. We had no idea what we were truly getting ourselves into. We were just a bunch of bored kids messing around. We didn't know we were being watched, that we were being chosen. The following weeks were a blur of frantic searching and growing dread. We found the second page nailed to the door of an abandoned cabin. The third buried beneath a pile of stones in an old cemetery. The fourth tucked inside the hollow of a dead tree. Each page was more disturbing than the last. The drawings became more detailed, more grotesque. The stick figure evolved, its limbs lengthening, its form becoming more defined, more menacing. The messages grew more personal, more threatening. He hears your every breath. He knows your every fear. He's always watching. The changes in us were subtle at first. We became irritable, withdrawn, plagued by nightmares. We started seeing things in the shadows, hearing whispers in the silence. The line between the game and reality began to blur. The forest, once a place of adventure, now felt like a trap. Its trees like skeletal fingers reaching out to grab us. Ethan, once the most vocal skeptic, became increasingly paranoid. He claimed he was being followed, that he could feel Slender Man's presence everywhere he went. Lisa, our brave adventurer, became withdrawn and fearful, jumping at every creak of the floorboards. Even Chloe, our resident expert on the occult, seemed shaken. She spent hours poring over ancient texts, searching for any information that could help us understand what we were dealing with. But the more she learned, the more terrified she became. "This isn't just a story, guys," she said one night, her voice trembling. "This is something old, something primal. We've awakened something we don't understand. We were missing something. The pages we found were numbered, but the sequence was incomplete. Pages 5 and 6 were missing, and without them, the ritual, whatever it was, couldn't be completed. Or so we thought." Ben, always the quietest of our group, started to change the most drastically. He became distant, withdrawn, spending hours alone in his room. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping. He would just stare out the window, his eyes wide and vacant, muttering to himself in a language we didn't understand. He started drawing, filling notebooks with disturbing images of stick figures and that same chilling symbol, a circle with a vertical line. One night, we found him in the woods, standing before the old willow tree, chanting in a low, guttural voice. He was holding a knife, his own blood dripping onto the ground, forming the symbol from the pages. We tried to stop him, to reason with him, but he wouldn't listen. His eyes were glazed over, his face devoid of emotion. He was no longer Ben, he was something else, something empty. He attacked us then, with a speed and strength that belied his frail frame. We managed to subdue him, to tie him up, but as we did, he just smiled. That same unsettling, too-wide smile we had seen in the drawings. "It's too late," he whispered, his voice a distorted echo of its former self. "He's already here. He's inside. You can't stop him. You can't stop us." Then he began to laugh, a high-pitched manic cackle that sent shivers down our spines. We knew then that we hadn't just awakened something in the woods, we had awakened something within ourselves. We had invited it in. We found the 5th and 6th pages hidden in Ben's room, tucked away beneath his mattress. They were the most disturbing yet. Page 5 depicted a group of stick figures, their faces blank, their bodies contorted in agony. The message, "He feeds on your fear." Page 6 was a drawing of the symbol, the circle with the line, but this time it was surrounded by other symbols, strange, alien characters that seemed to writhe and shift on the page. The message, "The final step draws near." We were horrified, but we also knew we couldn't stop now. We had to see this through to the end, whatever the cost. We had to find the 7th page. We had to stop whatever we had unleashed. We tied Ben to a chair in his basement, gagging him when the chanting became unbearable. He would be safe there, we reasoned. We were so wrong. Following the clues from the 6th page, we returned to the hidden grove, to the ancient tree. This time, the atmosphere was even more oppressive, the air thick with a sense of impending doom. The phosphorescent fungi pulsed with an unnerving red light, casting grotesque shadows on the surrounding trees. We searched for hours, our desperation growing with each passing moment. Finally, as the first rays of dawn began to break through the trees, Chloe found it. Not a page, but a small wooden box buried at the base of the ancient tree. Inside the box was a single folded piece of paper, the 7th page. With trembling hands, we unfolded it. It was blank. Confused and defeated, we returned to Ben's house. As we entered the basement, we were met with a horrifying sight. The chair was overturned. The ropes were chin torn. Ben was gone. On the wall, drawn in what we could only assume was blood, was the symbol, the circle with the vertical line, and beneath it, a single, chilling sentence, scrawled in a handwriting that was both familiar and alien. It was Ben's handwriting, but also not. He is here, he is us, we are complete. Suddenly, we heard a noise from upstairs. We froze, our blood turning to ice. We slowly made our way up the stairs, each step echoing in the unnerving silence. The sound was coming from the living room. We crept into the living room, our hearts pounding in our chests. And then we saw him. Standing in front of the large living room window, bathed in the pale light of dawn, was Ben. But it wasn't Ben, not anymore. His skin was pale, almost translucent. His limbs were elongated, his fingers ending in sharp, claw-like nails. His eyes were black, empty, devoid of any human emotion. And his mouth was stretched into a wide, grotesque smile that revealed rows of sharp, pointed teeth. He turned to us, and we saw our own terrified faces reflected in his empty eyes. He was the monster in the drawings. He was the creature in the woods. He was the Slender Man. But he was also us. We had created him. We had summoned him. We had given him. The creature that was once Ben lunged. We scattered, screaming, our carefully laid plans dissolving into chaos. It moved with an unnatural speed, a blur of motion that was impossible to track. Liam, in his arrogance and continued obsession to document everything, tried to film it, to capture it on camera. The creature turned on him, its long, spindly arms reaching out, its clawed fingers tearing through flesh and bone. His scream was cut short with a sickening crunch. The camera went black. Chloe, using her knowledge of the occult, tried to fight back, chanting words of banishment, drawing symbols in the air. But the creature was beyond such things. It was a force of nature, a primal evil that could not be contained by ancient rituals or human understanding. It swatted her aside as if she were a fly, sending her crashing into a wall. She did not get up. Maya and I, we ran. We ran for our lives, the creature's chilling laughter echoing behind us. We burst out of the house into the blinding light of the morning sun, but even the sunlight offered no comfort, no safety. We didn't stop running until we were miles away, until our lungs burned and our legs ached. We didn't dare look back. We were the only survivors, the only witnesses to the horror we had unleashed. The town of Whisper Wood remains under quarantine. The official story is a chemical spill, a toxic gas leak. They say everyone inside is dead. They say it's not safe to enter. They're lying. I've seen the footage. I've heard the recordings. I know what happened in that town. It wasn't a chemical spill. It was something far worse. They say he's gone now, the creature they called Slender Man, that he disappeared as quickly as he came. But I know the truth. He's still out there. He's in the static on your TV screen. He's in the flickering lights of your computer monitor. He's in the whispers you hear when you're alone in the dark. He's waiting for someone else to pick up the pen, to read the words, to complete the story. And when they do, we will be waiting.